This is your life in ghost theories, through music and poetry, and you're hanging out with Dignatian Stile. This week's episode, you must first believe to achieve, and it's Black History Month, February 2025. We have some sponsors. D-Music X, your success is our business. Dignation, making inspired music. And everything that you hear, you can always go to motivate.dignationstyle.com if you want more. We're going to be taking it very light and easy. Not very structured, but of course, we want to keep it entertaining, keep you engaged, so you'll like the content. Yeah, let's get started with musical background. I want to give you a brief overview of where I'm coming from. And by no means am I at the top of food chain or musical chain when it comes on to music. But one of the things I do enjoy is writing. I do a lot of writing. And if you look at the music catalog I have right here, I have over 100 songs. There are several songs also in production, so it's just a passion. I go with the flow when it comes on to lyrics and my production, writing. Everything is very fluid. I have several albums and you can see them popping up on the screen here. And over the years, starting from around 2019, I've produced several albums. I'm an indie artist, so I do pretty much all my production myself. Occasionally, I do engage some external mix master sound engineers just to put on final touches, but most of the production, I'm doing it myself. I also do collaborations. You'll see that I do various collaborations with other artists, but over the years I've just gone with my flow, and my music can be found right across different platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, and it's all about just being creative, and this creativity is just part of what I do, what I enjoy. Yeah, I mentioned at the start of the show that this is Black History Month, and Black History Month is very relevant for me as a Black indie artist. It goes well beyond just music industry. It's something that impacts all our lives, impacts our future, and certainly over the years there have been significant strides, but stark reminders, especially back in 2020 with George Floyd's death and the eventual Black Lives Matter movement that's still strong today. If you look at the time frame and how many years elapsed, and you have these significant kind of monumental occurrences, which sort of reminds you that it's still there. The systematic racism is still there. What Black History Month does is to give us a way to look back, but also look forward with some optimism, because it's only when you look back that you realize where things were. In 1865, there was slavery. Slavery was abolished in 1865. And then you look almost 60 years after Negro History Week, which was sort of the precursor to Black History Month. And then in 1965, significant strides by Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks. You look at all of those and you can certainly see that it's not all lost, but there's still a long way to go. This month is observed. You'll have to recognize that it's not really a lot to celebrate. My music is all about the contemporary issues and going with more what I feel in the moment, the vibes, the kind of inspiration. And sometimes inspiration can be positive but it can also be negative. And like all other creatives, when you feel that inspiration, you go with it. And one of the things that was happening during the George Floyd's incident where he was killed was I felt the need to write a song. It was really to galvanize what I was feeling. It was intense period, and I was really impressed, if that's the correct word, to see people coming together, to see that nobody was looking at who George Floyd was in terms of background or like it didn't matter. What really mattered was that here was someone, a black person, who had a future. And that future, regardless of whatever that future was taken away. And it was taken away because of his skin color. And he was treated a certain way because those police officers did not see him as a person. And that was really difficult to fathom because we all have the same blood, same color, same everything running through our veins. Like if you try to differentiate between black and white in terms of DNA, it's indistinguishable. And over the years, even back in slavery, there has been this concept which denigrates black people and minorities. So this was really a time when I felt the need that I couldn't just watch. So I wrote this song, and I'll just play a little part of it right now. You can see it on our faces. We're here from different places, but united in a single voice. We gather here by choice, so the world hears our cries before someone else dies. You can see it on our faces. We're here from different places, but united in a single voice. We gather here by choice, so the world hears our cries before someone else dies. Black lives matter. Oh, Black lives matter. Oh, Black lives matter. I see it on their faces, plus different ethnicities and races, protesting together in solidarity to seek better, cause Black lives matter. I see it on their faces, plus different ethnicities and races, protesting together in solidarity to seek better, cause Black lives matter. Look how many years since abolition of slavery. 1865 of us today were alive. Our forefathers paid for freedom and did so with their lives, hoping one day it would actually come. Fast forward 1965, Martin Luther King Jr. did the same thing, speaking out against what for many years was brewing. Wasn't intimidated, knew what he was seeking. As a million people gathered that day, he shared a dream in the midst of dismay. If it was Rosa Parks who sparked the fire. Yeah, and the lyrics are on the screen here, and most of verse 1, it's going through the history, talk about the abolition of slavery back in 1865, Martin Luther King and the march. It was just feeling in that moment, just watching, seeing everything happening, seeing it on television, seeing all the protests globally, and decided to just put it in the song. In verse 2, I talk about the history because one of the things that has always been very strange to me is the fact that when it comes on to like conflicts like wars, where people are fighting a common enemy, in those instances where you put your life on the line, whether you're fighting for a cause or fighting for your country, it doesn't matter your skin tone. And so it's all about unity in war. But once you're back Once that conflict is over, your race, your skin tone, everything becomes important again. And so in verse 2, I'm talking about we fight on the same premise, but when it's over, we don't even seem to exist. The lyrics rhyme, but the rhyme is with a purpose. For example, in part of the verse, I say, we never waver to make the sacrifice of limb for glory in the face of prejudice. History tells us that no one takes notice when it comes to equal rights and justice. When you put your limb at risk, nobody stands up. Everybody is like, wow, he's making the sacrifice. But to guarantee you the same rights or to ensure that you have the same privilege, nobody will step up. Nobody will be willing to fight for you. This is the most powerful part of the lyrics in that song. So the second song I want to talk about when it comes on to Black History Month is a song that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily associate with Black History Month or even struggle just by the title. But once you hear the lyrics, you will definitely understand. The name of the song is Thirst, Thirst. It came about because of my own personal experience walking into stores or just being somewhere, and as long as you linger, so to speak, say over like 2 minutes, someone will always walk up to you and say, can I help you? Or it's almost as if you're not supposed to be there. And whether it's just someone walking up to you or you are looking at something and then you turn around and you see somebody watching you over your shoulder. So really, thirst is about that almost unquenchable need for people to just find something to say you're doing wrong. They're just looking for something to point out or something to say, this is why you shouldn't be there. That was the genesis for this song. I will just play a small snip.
Just what you need, just what you need. It's like a thirst, your head be quenched. You keep watching me, watching me. It's like a thirst, your head be quenched. You keep watching me, watching me. You're watching every move I make.
Your purview's like a thirst that can't be quenched, so you keep watching me, expecting to see an offense, trying to have the evidence as you build intelligence. So are you trying to convince the state of province that we don't deserve our independence? So you're always there looking over your shoulder, expecting us to fail. So your doctrines may prevail, but first your conscience of the years of violence, civil rights movement, victories and abolishment. You're still tracking me, watching every move I make.
Yeah, so even the first line of verse 1, where it talks about your purview is like a thirst. So if you're gonna be here, you're gonna do something wrong, and so someone is always looking at you, whether it's surveillance, whether it's the cameras, or somebody in the store who's just focused on you and no one else. So we talk about mental slavery, we talk about physical slavery, and a lot of times you can be free, but you're still in bondage. And that bondage is sometimes it's systematic. People know that you get uncomfortable being watched, or you enter a store and all of a sudden there's an announcement, whether it's security or subtle ways that you become aware and self-aware of the surroundings, and you feel the weight of somebody staring down. So that's exactly what this song is about. Your mental state and how it can be infringed upon just by someone not allowing you enough space. If you want to buy something in a store, you want the time to make the decision. If somebody comes up to you and consistently or constantly trying to speed you up, get you to make a decision, or even try to get you to leave, then it's part of that enslavement and impacts you negatively. And so thirst is about how do we break away from that kind of situation where you feel that you just don't have the freedom to go into a store where somebody's not looking over your shoulder or watching you. In verse 3, I talk about freedom should be a birthright. A lot of times, if you're free, it almost feels as if you have to earn it. But freedom is something that we all have. It shouldn't be something bestowed on you. Another part of the lyrics I mentioned about color blindness. A lot of times people will say, oh, it doesn't matter whether you're black or white or brown, right? Because I don't notice it, I don't see it. If you're walking down the street, you'll see someone suddenly change sides or holding their possessions a little bit closer once they see you walking down the street. So there are subtle signs and we want to ignore them, but it does impact mentally. And Bob Marley talks about freeing yourself from mental slavery. There are subtle ways, and society somehow creates those situations where you become enslaved mentally. There are people who actually practice that, to keep watching you, to track your movement. It's causing people to not be able to express themselves or to be themselves. And that's wrong. Here we are at the end of episode 1. It was really a pleasure to be your host. I hope that at the end of this episode, if you weren't a fan, you're now a fan. But get a sense of the type of music that I produce. It's really very eclectic. I do not necessarily stick to one genre. I go with my musical flow. While this particular episode was about Black History Month, so the songs I selected were in line with that theme. But when you look at my music catalog, you'll find a wide range of different genres, EDM, hip hop, and so on. So certainly check it out. Started talking about Black History Month, which February 2025, and some of the key stalwarts that really made a change in terms of the civil rights movement, and talk about Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks. The two songs I spoke about, Faces and Thirst, really to promote the message of hope, equality, and social justice. And finally, it's about artistic expressions. That's what it means for me when it comes on to music, and to write a song or to do a song about what I'm feeling in the moment, or that feeling changes, the inspiration changes, and I go with the flow. Certainly feel free to reach out. I'm always open to getting feedback and suggestions. So looking forward to hearing from you, and keep listening.